Good evening. Welcome to the joint meeting, the Mililani Waipio Melemanu Neighborhood Board number 25. Joint regular meeting with the Mililani Mauka Launani Valley Neighborhood Board number 25. My name is Danielle Bass. I'm the chair of Neighborhood Board number 25. My co-chair here is Dean Hazama, chair of Neighborhood Board 35. It's an honor for this joint board meeting for this Tuesday, June 18th, here at Mililani Mauka Elementary School. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the Boy Scouts of America Troop 664 for the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Troop attention, color guard attention, color guard forward, march. Mark time, march. Right wheel, march. Ready, halt. Please join the Pledge of Allegiance. Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color guard, mark time, march. Right wheel, march. Forward, march.
All right, thank you, Boy Scouts of America, Troop 664. Thank you, members. Please have a seat. Thank you, members of the public. Please have a seat.
Somewhere.
Again, mahalo for attending tonight's joint meeting. At this time, I'd like to recognize the Neighborhood Commission Office staff to take roll call, first with Neighborhood Board number 35 and then a subsequent roll call for Neighborhood Board number 25. Hello?
Mic check. Yep.
Roll call. Agadir. Hazama. Hudson. Kuehu. Melendres. Miyamoto. Oishi. Tamashiro. Among. Bass. Carmandi or Carmody. Dow. Flores. Freed. Gustafsson.
Here.
Ka'anehe. Ka'apana Aki. Kim. Kupuka'a. Darsha Lee. Marilyn Lee. Nagamine. Azawa. Park. Ross. Segura. Smart. Virginia. Trotter.
Present.
Williams.
Here.
I note that Rodney Park and Josie Ka'anehe are online.
We have quorum.
And Anne Freed has just arrived. Okay, I'd like to recognize Vice Chair Keith Tamashiro at this time to discuss the meeting's decorum.
Thank you. On behalf of Chair Bass and Chair Hasama and your members of your neighborhood board 25 and 35, welcome. And we look forward to hearing all your concerns, your feedback, your perspectives. We just ask for meeting decorum that you, again, raise your hand, be recognized by the chair, and then she will motion you up to the microphone, and then you could provide your comments. If you're joining us remotely, same thing. You could use the raise your hand button to be recognized by the chair. And the last is that we just ask that so we can hear everybody's input and feedback, if possible, to limit to 3 minutes. Okay, that's all I have. Back to you, Chair.
Mahalo, Keith. Okay, folks, for the reason of expediting, I'd like to request the board, if there aren't any objections or to this motion, I'd like to move the the board business out of order to this point so that we can, so neighborhood board number 35 can now consider a motion to recess the regular board meeting for July 2024. Are there any objections for this? Seeing none, over to you, Dean.
Thank you, Chair Bass. After careful discussion with Vice Chair Tamashiro, it was recommended that we request that our board recess in July, and our next meeting will be in August. Are there any objections? Any abstentions? All right, seeing none, that motion is passed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now we will go back into the meeting agenda and recognize the monthly reports. First up, we have Honolulu Fire Department. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Firefighter Chadwick Tam. This is Fire Captain Gilbert Reyes. We're both stationed at Station 41, which is Mililani Mauka right behind us. This is regarding the Mililani Mauka Launani Valley Neighborhood Board. The statistics provided below represent confirmed number of incidents in the neighborhood board's geographical area for the previous month. Should you have any questions, please email the HFD's Community Relations Office at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. These are the statistics for May 2024. There's 3 activated alarms with no fires, 37 medical calls, 2 MVCs, which are motor vehicle collisions. And regarding the Mililani, Waipio, Melemanu, we got 2 structure fires, 1 wildland brush fires, 4 nuisance fires. Nuisance fires include rubbish fires outside of a structure or vehicle. We got 91 medical calls, 2 MVCs, and 1 hazardous material incident call. This is the fire safety tip for the month, which regards to power outages. Hawaii is prone with a year-round risk of wildfire. Hazardous weather conditions, especially during hurricane season, which is from June 1st to November 30th, will increase the risk. The HFD encourages everyone to proactively protect yourself, your family, and your property through advanced planning, understanding, and preparation. In the event of a power outage, remember these safety tips. Build a 14-day disaster supply kit. Take inventory of the items you need that rely on electricity. Plan for batteries and other alternative power sources to meet your needs when the power goes out. Know your medical needs, such as devices, refrigerator, medications. A general list is available online at honolulu.gov/DEM. Using appliances during power outages. Avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Generators, camp stoves, or charcoal grills should always be used outdoors and at least 20 feet from the windows. Turn off or disconnect appliances, equipment, or electronics that may be damaged during possible momentary power surges or spikes. For more tips and detailed information, visit ready.gov/power outages. And last, starting July 1st, HECO will commence their public safety power shutoff program to reduce the risk of wildfire. As one component of their 3-phase wildfire safety strategy, HECO may preemptively shut off power in identified high-risk areas during periods of forecast high winds and dry conditions. This program is being utilized as their last line of defense to keep communities safe and may result in extended power outages. A PSPS could last several hours or up to several days. The HFD and HECO will continue to work with Board of Water and other city, state, and federal agencies to lessen any impacts from a PSPS. Visit hawaiianelectric.com for more information. And again, should you have any questions, please email the HFD's Community Relations Office at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. Thank you very much for your time.
Mahalo HFD for that joint report for both neighborhood boards. Next up, we have HPD.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Scott Vieira. I work out of the Wahiwa Station, which covers the Mililani, Wahiwa, and the North Shore neighborhoods. I work the night watch, which starts at 6 p.m. till 7:30 in the morning. I know this was a joint meeting, so the stats I'm going to read are inclusive for the Mililani, Waipio, and the Mauka neighborhoods. So for the last month, there was 1 assault, there were 4 burglaries, there were no robberies, and there were 5 unauthorized entry into motor vehicles. There was a total of 629 calls for service for Honolulu Police Department. With the UNV's 5, that's actually not too bad, but of course, 1 is too much if that's your car. So the tip I wanted to provide was just be sure to lock your doors. I know oftentimes we're so busy getting in and out of our cars when we arrive at work, school, home. But we know that because we see it through videos. There's some of the thieves out there that simply walk through our neighborhoods, just flipping door handles, and they're opportunistic. So if you lock your car, it might be saving you, a headache down the line. So lock your vehicles, and please don't leave valuables in your car overnight. Wallets, purses. I know sometimes they're forgotten in there. Can't really help that, but don't make it a habit of leaving valuables in your car. That's all I got. Any questions?
Members and members of the community, questions for HPD?
Chair, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
On June 9th, it was a Sunday morning, over on Wikau Street at Trinity Church. There appeared to have been a motor vehicle collision into their property, taking down the city chevron signs in that turn. I don't know if you personally are aware, but have we determined what was the cause of that particular?
I apologize. I don't
Okay,
know.
it's okay.
Was that during the day?
It was early morning on Sunday, June 9th. They went right through the curbing, right into the fence. And I had received a letter, and so as Councilmember Wyer's office, because it is a continual issue with motor vehicle collisions into that private property. But it has taken down fire hydrants in the last 2 months. I think we've gone through at least 7 or 8 over the last 5 years, including the city signage, mailboxes, water pipes. So the property owner had reached out, so I just thought I'd ask you.
I'm sorry. I don't.
It's okay.
Not for but yeah.
I'll check with.
Okay. Apologize.
All right.
Thank you. Members, any other questions for HPD at this time? Members of the audience, any questions? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay. Next up, our military representative. Welcome.
Good evening, Joint Board. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Jared Mililani. I'm with 130th Engineer Brigade. As I mentioned last month, U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii is holding its next hiring fair next week on the 25th at Kapolei High School from 8:30 to 2 p.m. It's open to the public, and there will be job offers and provisional hiring day of the job fair. So further information is available on www.himwr.com. Walk-ins are welcome and should bring 2 references, proof of ID, social security card, resume, or application. Any concerns, please call the community concern line with U.S. Army Garrison at 808-787-1528 or USAG Hawaii Comrel at army.mil. The training advisory for the remainder of June, Army will continue training in East Range area with Ranger Jungle Tactics, Small Arms Blank Fire, 17 through 30 June. Day only, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if it's outside of those hours, they're probably in the wrong. And aviation training on 28 June during the day only. Additionally, on Schofield Barracks, there will be artillery and mortar training continuing through the 24th of June. That will be day and night. So late evening and early morning hours, the larger booms. Okay. Any questions or to be added to the distribution list, please call Community Concern Line 808-787-1528 and appreciate your understanding with the support to training. If you want to be added to the advisory list, email usag.hawaii.comrel@army.mil. The Oahu draft environmental impact statement publication, it was posted on the 7th of June for all the Oahu training lands. It's a 60-day public review period from June 7th through August 7th. The public may submit comments during this period in writing via the Oahu EIS project website at https. I've got 3 copies of the press release right here, so I'm not going to read all that up for you. There's also 3 public meetings, one at the Waianae District Multipurpose Room on the 9th of July from 6 to 8 p.m., one at Kahuku High and Intermediate School on July 10th from 6 to 8 p.m., and one at Lelehua High School on July 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. Any questions? Well, place these over there. And then finally, in response to Ms. Kihu's question last board meeting about the signage at Lelehua Golf Course, she did receive somewhat of an answer, but I'm going to go clarify that a little bit more about whether or not these particular signs were approved or not. Any questions?
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel. Members, are there any questions for the U.S. Army? U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii? Members of the audience, are there any questions for the United States Army Garrison Hawaii at this time? Seeing and hearing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue on to the agenda at this point in time. Are there any residents from either the Mililani, Mauka, Launani Valley, Waipio Acres, and Melemanu communities who would like to come forward and express any comment or concern at this time to our joint neighborhood boards? Please raise your hand to be recognized. Okay, seeing and hearing none. We will move on to the approval of our board meeting minutes, members. First up is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024's regular meeting written summary for the video record of Neighborhood Board 35. Neighborhood Board 35 members, are there any corrections or comments to the video record? Hearing none, are there any objections or abstentions to the video record? Hearing none, the minutes pass. Okay, Neighborhood Board 25 members. Now we will consider Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024's regular meeting written summary for the video record from Neighborhood Board 25. Neighborhood Board 25 members, are there any corrections or comments to the summary at this time? Hearing none, are there any objections or abstentions at this time? Also hearing none, the written summary pass. Okay, it is now 7:21. This will actually begin our candidates forum. I'd like to recognize my co-chair, Dean Hazama, who is of course, the chair of the Mililani Neighborhood Board 35. He will briefly describe the candidate forum. You want to, okay. No, he's not going to describe it. We're going to go into recess now. No, you don't want to go. Okay. Okay, we're gonna recess the board and then, members, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the audience. Actually is what I wanted actually to be conveyed. So we're gonna leave this area so that we can give some space for our candidates to come during the candidate forum. At this time, our joint meeting is in recess.
We're gonna get this candidates forum started, so if you can take your seats. So before we get started, I want to thank Neighborhood Board 25, our neighbors across H2, as well as Neighborhood Board 35 members for hosting this candidates forum. As you know, due to reapportionment, we now share a couple of districts amongst ourselves. So things have changed a little bit. And I think having this forum with both of us is a good thing for everyone. So before we get started, I also thank the candidates for showing up and taking the time out of their campaign schedules to be here tonight, to talk to us, to answer your questions, and just so that we can get to know them a little bit better. So I'll go over the ground rules for the forum. We will be covering the forum by districts. Each district will be allotted approximately 25 minutes. Each candidate will have a 2-minute introductory opening statement, and then they will take 2 questions that are created by the board, and then we will open it up to any questions that have been submitted. If you still have questions, please go over to to Susan over there and write them down. For those online, please put your questions in the chat. We will try and get to as many questions as we can within the allotted period of time. After the questions are done, then we'll allow each candidate to have a 1-minute closing statement. And we will rotate the responses to the questions amongst the candidates as equally as we can. So let's get started. Fortunately, I believe we don't have either of the candidates for Senate District 18, which covers Mililani Town, Waipio Gentry, Crestview, Waikele, Village Park, Royal Pinian, parts of Waipahu. I know Senator Kidani, who is the senator for this district, called me yesterday, last evening. She has a very bad cold, so she can't make it and is ill. So we'll move on to House District 37. House District 37 contains portions of Mililani Town, Mililani Mauka, Koa Ridge, and Waipio Gentry. If I can call the candidates up for District 37 and come in the front at this time. So Representative Trish LaChica is the current House representative for District 37 and is a Democrat. Also, Kenny Noy is also a Democrat running in the same race. So welcome. And Representative LaChica, you have your 2-minute opening.
Go first. Okay, mic check. Okay. Aloha and good evening, everyone. My name is Trish LaChica, and I'm currently the state representative for District 37, serving the beautiful communities of Central Oahu, as mentioned by Chair. So just wanted to thank the chairs of Neighborhood Boards 25 and 35 for putting this event together. So I'm running for a second term, and there's 2 reasons why. And the first is that, I want to acknowledge that we just have a system that's broken in our state. And what I mean by this is it's a system of inequity that makes it really, really hard for working families and for our keiki to thrive. We have the highest cost of living, we have highest rates of homelessness, we have increased crime and accidents. And a lot of these are the reasons that I hear daily, from my constituents, from when we go door to door. But I also believe that if we don't do things differently, if we don't address the reasons, these reasons, if we don't challenge the status quo, then it's our keiki, it's our next generation that will continue to be affected. And the second reason why this fight is so important and why this matters to me is it's deeply personal. I'm a mother, I'm a member of this community, I'm a public servant, and I'm a woman. I'm a Filipina American. It's these reasons that make me who I am. And it's these reasons why I continue to fight for the reasons that make Central Oahu the best place to live and raise our families. And we've been able to do just that. You know, I'm so proud of what we've accomplished in the last 2 years, bringing our neighborhoods together for public safety, clearing out the Kipapa Gulch homeless encampment, restoring school bus services for our district, reopening the Mililani hockey rink for our keiki and for recreational opportunities, and addressing the harms caused by e-cigarettes, and finally passing comprehensive regulation. And so these are the things that I'm just committed to do, and I know there's so much more that we can do, but this is what I bring to the legislature. It's just my commitment to put community first. And with that, I will turn it over to
Thank you.
Ken.
Mr. Inouye, go ahead.
Aloha. Hawaii is home. Hawaii is our home. Now, home can mean a lot of different things to different people. To some, it's where you work. To others, it's where you live. For my family and I, home is where our family is from. Home is where our values come from. Home is where our culture comes from. We decided to move home and make our home in Central Oahu, in Mililani, because when we started looking around here and shopping for a place, we were welcomed with open arms. We discovered a place that accepted us and enveloped us in their aloha. My daughter, who's right over there with my wife, Maggie, when we moved here, she started in first grade at Mililani Uka. She worked her way through Mililani Uka, went through Mililani Middle, and now she is very excited, and I have to say I'm very excited as well, that she's about to start at Mililani High School. Hawaii is our home. Now, if you're like me, though, when you look around at home and you see problems at home, you see things that are creating an issue, you get worried and you start to want to take action. And that's what happened to me, because my daughter, she's going to be graduating from school in a few years, along with others in her class, along with others in her generation. And I start to look around and I start worrying about what kind of world are we teeing up for her and her generation. I also start worrying about what kind of world we're leaving for the retirees, our kapuna. When we lose our keiki, we lose our potential. When we lose our kapuna, we lose the cultural understanding and shared history.
Okay,
These-
Mr. Inouye, you finish up, please.
These folks are moving off to the mainland for better opportunities, and I want to change that. I will be working strenuously, energetically to keep that from happening and to find solutions. Mahalo.
Okay. Mr. Inouye, you stay up there. The next question is for you. So what do you feel are the 3 top issues for your district?
When I walk the district, the 3 top issues are economic pressures like the high cost of living, the difficulty in finding jobs that pay enough, the difficulty in finding jobs that people have trained for. The other issue that is frequently brought up is that of some very visible crimes that have made the news in our district. You know, our district is quite safe, but there are some very visible crimes that have made it onto the news. And the third issue that comes up with great regularity is education. The schools in our district are very good, but the people here, many of the folks, including myself, moved here. One of the reasons was the quality of the schools. So people are concerned that the quality of the schools remains good and remains strong.
Okay, thank you. Representative Lachika, same question for you.
The 3 top priorities in our district are public safety and ensuring the well-being of our community. The second is cost of living, including affordable housing. And the third is ensuring not just education, but also childcare, after school care. And so for the first, public safety, I believe every resident deserves to be able to live in an environment that's safe from crime, that's safe from accidents. And we need to be able to address the reasons that ensure this safety. We were able to do just that by prioritizing public safety. Last summer, we did a big community event that many of you attended, that was attended by the mayor and Chief Logan, and we were able to increase neighborhood security watches. We're up to 10 now. On education and childcare, it is ensuring we have the top quality schools so our kids have the best start to life. But childcare and after school care prevents us from having a thriving workforce. Each child care, it's $2,000 for each child. And for me, I almost spent $4,000 just on childcare costs alone. And then, cost of living is really not just because we have increased inequality, but because we also have a shrinking opportunities to have better competitive wages, opportunities to have an opportunity to own a home, and opportunities to be able to stay here. So we need to grow those. We need thousands more jobs. We need those to be local jobs, but we also need workforce development opportunities so that our kids not just have the best start to life, but they have a direct pathway to the jobs, the competitive jobs that will keep them here in the first place.
Next question.
Okay.
Okay, so this is from the public. So do you pledge to serve the entire term if elected?
Yes, I'm here to, as elected by the body and my voters. And, if given, this has been an opportunity of a lifetime, and it's hard. I mean, it comes with the stresses, it comes with the long hours, but it's also one of the best decisions I've made in my life. And my commitment is to my community. And I want to be able to do just that. And I feel that this is for my supporters, a question for my supporters too. And should there be, an opportunity to do better and to challenge our government to do better, and that is something that I'm always committed to doing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Noy, same question to you.
I absolutely intend to serve out the full term. After all, the problems that are confronting our state are not simple problems. They will take time to address. They're going to take multiple years to address. Hard work, much investigation, and much examination of policy and solutions. And at the same time, it requires constant attention and dedication on multiple fronts in order to make that happen. So absolutely, I intend to serve out the entire term.
Okay, thank you. You can stay up. The next question's for you. I'm going to try and do this the best I can. So this next question involves House Bill 508, which is a sex-specific bill for athletic teams in school sports. Where do you stand? It says many of these girls have worked hard to get to where they are, and they lose any chance of sports advancements and perhaps scholarships that also may be at risk. Where do you stand on this issue? Will you stand to protect our biological girls' sports?
This issue, I have been asked this a number of times, actually. And I must say that I understand the consternation of these parents. I do. But having said that, I don't necessarily know that the answer to that question is to be found in a single piece of legislation. I think that this is something that's going to have to be addressed over time and figuring out what kind of social norms are going to be in existence. I will say this, though. I do feel that trans athletes do have a place in competitive sports. And I do feel that we need to work towards figuring out how to make this work for all parties.
Thank you. Representative Chico.
It's not government's role to really intervene in tell schools what they should or shouldn't do. With that said, all individuals do deserve, the right to be able to play in sports. But to me, it's really looking at both sides, and it's something that my office has always been committed to do, is what does the data say? And what do our schools want as well? The schools really want the best for our kids in the same way that we parents do. And to be honest, like, it's such a divisive type of issue that will divide like communities. And I'm just committed to ensuring that there's opportunities for every person, regardless of how they identify, but it's not government's responsibility to create those mandates and to be able to determine who gets and who doesn't get to play in sports.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you can stay up. And the next question has to do with public participation in the legislative process with the legislature. So the request is to provide the general public with meaningful opportunities to participate in the legislative process. In order to participate, the citizens need to understand what is being proposed, whether the bill is 2 pages or 100 pages. They basically have the right to know what is in the bill, the objective of the bill, etc. I guess the question would be, would you support bills being identified with a synopsis that would provide this information regardless of the size of the bill?
I guess the question is about transparency and how we make positions, or how we determine decisions at the state legislature. And as somebody who has already been invested, who's already in the trenches in the Capitol, as somebody who already understands the effort and the time and the energy that it takes to pass good legislation into law, it's something that, I'm proud to say that we've already started doing in the House. During the conference period, all the changes were verbally shared. I do feel that the amount of bills that are introduced every session with the short legislative session that we have is just too enormous and overwhelming, especially for the public to be able to fully advocate for things. And so I do support having bill limits, and I do support being as transparent as possible to ensure that we have the 3 reading process, to ensure that we have the 3 hearing process, and that any changes that are made are shared with the community and not behind closed doors. I think this is something that the community deserves to know. And there's, with those, and I think with that legislative timeline, it's something that fully enables them to participate in the legislative process.
Thank you. Mr. Noy.
I feel that the sort of transparency that is being discussed here in the question is something that should be looked at. I think that that sort of synopsis would be helpful as far as helping people, helping constituents better understand what is in the bill, what the legislative intent is of the bill. Having said that, I also do agree that any sort of information that is made available regarding the hearing process, the conference process, who voted for what in what way on a bill, is also something that would be helpful to constituents as well. Having said that, I will offer that when I worked in Washington, D.C., we weren't talking about things like this. So I think that this is a step in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you can stay up, Nick. Sorry. Next question. Again, this past session, House Bill 2079, which would have allowed minors access to gender-affirming healthcare and other services without parental consent. So the question is, where do you stand on this issue? Would you stand to protect these minors and until at least adulthood, and protect parental rights on raising their children?
Thanks for this question. I remember this legislation when it came through. I will say this. The bill that you just referenced, were I in the legislature, I would have in all likelihood voted in favor of it. And that is because the concerns that people voiced about this bill, I took the time to read through it, and I did not see anywhere within the language where these concerns were truly coming from. The other issue I will bring up is we all have members of the LGBTQ community within our families and within our extended Ohana. I'm no exception. And frankly, I'm going to share something right now. I have a good friend of mine who really would have benefited from having something like this available to them when they were younger. And frankly, when I read through this legislation, that was on my mind very much. So that is where I stand on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Chica.
So for this specific bill, I did vote with strong reservations and express reservations on this bill. And when I looked at it as somebody coming from public health and a background in healthcare, I'm in full support of having access to gender affirming care when it's deemed medically necessary. What I did was I met with the parents. I met with folks who were against this legislation. I met with also the healthcare providers, and I met with the health plans. And I asked them, this bill currently looks at, do we currently have any threats to how we provide gender affirming care in the state? And the answer was no. What the healthcare providers were concerned about was this bill would have changed how we delivered care. It would have bypassed the in-person requirement necessary for a provider to be able to prescribe a federally controlled substance. And they had, in my opinion, in my mind, when I approach policy, we have to make sure that all stakeholders are included. And in meeting with folks too, it's really about ensuring that we have legislation that will not only benefit our communities, but it's also something that we can implement. And at this time, I also talked to a lot of reproductive rights groups, and it wasn't something that they were also consulted on, this type of legislation. And so, like any type of legislation, there's always room for improvement, and it's something I'm committed to looking at next year.
Okay, thank you. You can stay up there. Yeah. Last question. Tell us what makes you the best candidate for this job.
So in my early career as a journalist, one of the first lessons that I learned is that you don't get what you don't fight for. And the second lesson is that true change is possible when we really build community power. And these are the things that come directly from my heart and from my leadership. It's just not the ability to bring people together towards a common goal, but it's really enabling and empowering our communities to do this for themselves. And I'm so proud that we've been able to do that. This is what I mean when I say I do things differently. And it's one of the reasons why we've been able to establish a base of support in our district, how we grew from a backyard campaign to a message that has been resonating throughout the community, which I not only hear at the door, but most recently, my last newsletter, I sent out a survey of how I'm doing in my performance as your state representative, and just happy to share that, over 85% have shared that we've exceeded, have gone above and beyond expectations. And that's just what I'm committed to doing, is to work hand in hand with the community to make these changes, not just for what our community deserves, but to also fight for the changes that our Keiki deserves, because it's really what makes Hawaii the best place to live and raise our families, and our kids and our grandkids deserve truly the best future possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nguyen.
Could you restate the question again, please?
Yes, tell us what makes you the best candidate for the job.
In my past life, experience, when I was still in Washington, D.C., I represented major companies before Congress and advocated on their behalf before Congress. These were companies like CBS Broadcasting, Paramount Pictures, Universal Studios, Verizon, and Sprint. Having said that, whenever I would end up meeting in a lawmaker's office, I found myself siding with the lawmaker because I understood what they were trying to do, having grown up the way that I did. I understood that they were trying to find a solution that didn't just work out for this one party. They were trying to find a solution that worked for everyone and that worked for the greater community. And from that, I learned it's not about everyone, it's not about one or two parties getting what they want. It's about all the parties that come to the table at the end of the day getting what they need. Because that is the kind of solution that is going to make the best policy overall. And as a result, that's what I learned. I learned to bring as many parties together as possible to find that common solution, that solution that worked out the best, and the solution that ultimately a lawmaker would be able to justify best to their constituents. And if elected, that's the way that I would handle it. Because whereas before,
Mr. No, you have to summarize, please.
I was working for my clients, if elected, I'm working for you. Thank you.
Okay, you stay up there.
It's a recurring theme, it looks like.
Okay, so those are the questions for the candidates in District 37 this evening. Do you have your closing statement or closing remark?
Thank you. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone that showed up tonight. Thank you for caring about your community. Thank you for caring about the issues, and thank you for taking the time to listen to what we all have to say. I ask that you continue to take this care, to take this concern, and use that to propel you throughout everything that you do going forward. Because it is that sort of community engagement that ends up really making a difference overall. Because that's the kind of community engagement that makes lawmakers and those around them sit up and take notice. Mahalo to the neighborhood board for hosting this. Mahalo to you all for coming out. Thank you to Trish. Thank you to all the other candidates. Mahalo.
Thank you. Representative G.
So, for me, as I mentioned before, it's really, when I first ran for office 6 years ago, it was because, a dedicated group of Mililani community leaders said, we want to see a different approach to change. We need to do things differently. And it's always been about, for me, since day one, from my career as a journalist in the Philippines, from being a public servant to working as one of the youngest cabinet members in Mayor Blangiardi's administration. It's always been about serving the community. And to me, it's always been about putting community first, which we've been able to do and how we communicate and how we address each and every constituent concern, even if we disagree. And to me, that's what I'm going to always pledge to do, is to work hand in hand with you to ensure that this remains to be the best communities for us. I really take this to heart. And again, I believe that, it's going to be the changes that we make now will directly impact the future of our keiki, and for them to have the best future possible. I'm here and I've always been committed and have always been invested. And I'm not going to let you down. That's what I commit to doing.
All right, thank you. All right, that's all for District 37. How about we give them a wonderful round of applause? Thank you very much. Okay, next up, House District 38. It's portions of Mililani Town and Waipio Acres and Mililani Mauka. So good evening, representative of House District 38 is Lauren Matsumoto. He is a Republican, and her opponent is Alexander Ozawa. So welcome this evening. Thank you for being here, and we will start with the questions. Before we do that, Representative Matsumoto, your opening statement.
Aloha, my name is Lauren Chi Matsumoto, and I have had the honor and privilege of serving the community of Mililani for the past 12 years in the Hawaii State House of Representatives. I've lived in this community my entire life. I went to Mililani Waina Elementary School, the middle school, and graduated from Mililani High School. I went on to continue my education, culminating in receiving my doctorate in organizational leadership. And this background uniquely prepared me for my current leadership roles. I serve as the House Minority Leader, as the co-convener of the Women's Legislative Caucus, and as the National Chair of Women in Government, a nonpartisan organization of women state legislators across the country. And this bipartisan work has led me to be an effective legislator here in Hawaii. Listening is one of the most important parts of leadership. And listening to those in our community is my top priority. I regularly send out updates. I'm always asking for feedback. And that input and those conversations have led me to learn the top issues in Mililani are cost of living, it is housing, supporting our businesses and providing jobs, the rising crime, education, and government transparency. And in addition to my work at the Capitol, I am deeply invested in every aspect of this community, whether it's coaching Central Oahu I-9 soccer, to the neighborhood security watch, to jump roping at our local schools for the children there, or to town hall meetings. I care so deeply about this community because it's not only where I was born and raised, but where I am raising my children with my husband, Scott, who is a firefighter right here at Mililani Mauka Fire Station. And this community is who I am and why I'm honored and ask for your continued support in serving as your State House representative.
Thank you, Alex. Mr. Ozawa.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you everyone who came out tonight. My name is Alexander Ozawa, and I'm running for House District 38. Just a little bit about me. I was born and raised here in Mililani, Hawaii. I went to Kipapa Elementary School, Mililani Middle School, and graduated Mililani High School in the year 2022. Since graduating high school, I've worked at the State Senate Committee on Ways and Means as a permanent full-time budget analyst. I've learned so much about the administrative, legislative, and policy system, and I want to use what I've learned to help my community, help my hometown, and do what I can. I believe that I'm sure there's a question we're going to get in a second, but I believe that the biggest issue for our community is the cost of living. And that's not just the cost of housing, it's the cost of food, it's the cost of transportation, it's the cost of education. Those are all aspects of the cost of living crisis that we need to work on and address. And with that, yeah, I would like to open it to questions.
Okay, thank you. Well, that was a good segue. So, what do you feel are the three top issues facing the district?
So the top three issues are cost of living, public safety, and access to opportunity like jobs. I'm going to spend my 2 minutes talking mostly about the cost of living because I believe that that is the most oppressive issue for our people, for our community in Mililani. Now, it is not just housing. Housing is our biggest cost, and we can do things like meeting the demand by increasing the supply of housing, especially in our urban core. Particularly, there's something that's been talked about for a while, that's changing some of our vacant and unused office spaces in the urban core to affordable housing. This would increase opportunity, especially for our children, to be able to stay in Hawaii, but maybe fly the nest a little bit, but still have access to our islands. Another part is food. When I was at the state legislature, we found a great opportunity to use some federal funds to increase access to food in food insecure communities by a program called Microgrants for Food Security. And we're able to appropriate $5 million to our rural communities so that they can grow their own gardens, grow their own food, and make sure that they are sustainable by themselves. Now, I believe that this program can be expanded on by the state, and we can give grants to our communities, to our farmers, so that they can continue to grow their own food or start growing food, especially if the crops that they're growing can be used as staple crops to reduce our imports and keep our tax dollars in Hawaii.
Okay, thank you. Representative Matsumoto, same question.
Thank you. Every year I send multiple surveys out to my district, and just this year asked the question, what do you think are the top 3 issues facing our community and our state? Number 1 was cost of living. Number 2 was housing. And number 3 was the rise in crime. And that was the first time in my 12 years that crime had ever made the top 3. But for the cost of living, I've always advocated for eliminating the GET on our food and medical services. There are so many other states that do this. 41 states do not have any tax on their medical services, something that would immediately help those in our community. The second being housing. And when you talk to people, one of the most difficult things is buying your house for the first time. And then this year, I've pushed for 6 years for the Hula May program to be reinstated. It's a first-time home buyer program. I was able to get that bill passed through this year to help people be able to buy that home for the very first time. And the third issue, again, is that rise in crime. And we've seen that time and time again in Mililani. And listening to the feedback, we passed three resolutions this year regarding public safety. And the first was regarding e-bikes and the regulation of e-bikes. The second was to have a police substation here in Mililani. And the third was for a Mililani Mauka emergency exit road. And so making sure we address those top 3 issues of cost of living, housing, and public safety.
Thank you. Oh, you can stay up there. Okay, so next question. Do you pledge to serve the entire term if elected?
I do pledge to serve the entire term. I've done it for the last 6, and I plan to continue that. I really love my service in the House of Representatives. And the reason that I love it is because the size of our district, I am able to intimately know so many of those in our community. I'm able to walk to every door. I'm able to have those conversations. And so for me, really the work that we do in the House is the foundation of our government. I know lots of people like to look at other races, but I really have a passion for serving in the House because we are the closest to the people.
Thank you. Mr. Ozama, go ahead.
I do intend to serve my full term if elected. Now, there's a lot of reasons I believe this, but the first one is that I'm proud to be a recipient of donations from my humble neighbors, and I want to be able to say to them that if I elected, I am not going to waste their money by giving the seat to someone else when they've already placed their trust in me. So I want to be able to do that and help serve my community and the future of our state for my full term if I am elected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This next question. If elected, what types of initiatives would you undertake in regards to emergency access and homelessness in the district?
Thank you. Yeah, this earlier we saw, some of the fire that happened up in Mililani Mauka, and that impacted a lot of families, people with asthma. It really reminded us that we are at the beck and call of Mother Nature, and we need to be able to respond and make sure that everyone's okay. So in terms of emergency access, we do need additional egress routes from Mililani to make sure that we're not unduly at in regards to natural disasters. Now for homelessness, we need to increase our access to support systems for our homeless community so that they can live in dignity and not have to commit any crimes in our communities, so that we all can feel safe in our homes, in our communities while we're out and about. So yes.
Thank you. Representative Matsumoto, same question.
Thank you. This was a really important issue, especially like we were talking about with the fires in Mililani Mauka. And so as a State House representative, I met with our neighborhood boards, met with DOT, those from Castle and Cook, and we've been working on an emergency access road from Mililani Mauka. And so we've made a lot of great progress on this. The Department of Transportation has already finalized their plans to move forward, looking to hopefully have something by the end of the year. But that's what's so important when seeing that there's a problem, bringing all of the stakeholders to the table and making sure that we're able to bring results to our community. And so something that's really important. In regards to homelessness, we had a really difficult time when we lost our provider here in the Central Oahu area. And so we've luckily had somebody come in. But one of the things at the legislature that we've been looking at is really the look into mental health and how we approach that as the legislature within our laws, but also with our first responders, making sure that they are trained and having people come alongside to make sure we're able to provide those services and not just criminal arrests. So rehabilitation is really the focus that we've been having at the legislature.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Tell us what makes you the best candidate for this job.
What makes me the best candidate for this job is my experience and my proven leadership. I've been so dedicated to this job, and I know intimately the difficulties that our communities face. When we're talking about cost of living and childcare, I'm right in the middle of putting my 2 children through preschool. I know what the $40,000 a year cost feels like, and so being able to address that issue. When we're talking about our businesses and being able to have jobs, my family owned Peterson's Upland Farm in Wahiawa, a business that has been around for 114 years. We just closed down 2 weeks ago because we are not a business-friendly state. That's something that we need to work on, and I intimately understand that. When it comes to crime, my neighbor had somebody break into her house who was a convicted murderer, who was let out on a technicality and pushed down the stairs. That kind of thing should never be happening in our community. So making sure that we're focused on crime and rehabilitation. And when it comes to things like housing, I talked about that Hula May program, that first-time homebuyer program. And the reason I'm so passionate about it is in 2013, that was the only way that my husband and I were able to afford a home. And that was the last year that the Hula May program existed. So fighting to reinstate programs like that because I lived it, I understand that. And that's why I am the best candidate for House District 38.
Thank you, Mr. Sal.
Thank you. I'm the best candidate for this race because I want to do something different. You know, I want to be able to expand my communications with my community and be able to talk to not just the boards, but every single one of us, tell everyone what I believe in, what I'm voting on, and how I feel about it, and what I'm learning, and who I'm talking to, and what am I doing with my time as their elected official to make sure that they can trust that I'm doing everything that I can for the future of them, their family, and the state of Hawaii. Now, for example, I don't believe in voting with reservations. We are the only state that does that. So I pledge to not vote with reservations for anything, so every single one of my voters knows how I feel about any particular subject and not have me sort of shyly backing away from any sort of problem. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, those are all the questions we have for District 38. So I will give you a minute and 30 seconds to do your closing.
Thank you. One thing that I didn't get to mention tonight is another key aspect of mine that I'm really motivated with, and that's technology. Because technology is such a big part of our lives. We use it every day, and it affects every single part of our lives. And I believe that the government hasn't done enough to help our citizens using technology and preventing cyber attacks, scams, things like that for our citizens. Now, I believe that, excuse me, there's a lot of emerging technologies like AI and cryptocurrency that we see in the media a lot. And I don't believe that the state or any of its agencies should be able to use things like AI until we know that, you know, we're doing it right. And those are some of the other policies that I want to be able to enact if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Matsumoto.
It has been such an honor and privilege to speak with all of you tonight. Again, the reason I love my job has shifted over the years. I first ran for office when I was 24 years old, and I was asked to run. And what I realized when I got elected is that I was the only legislator who had ever worked on a farm or lived at a farm at that time. I had a unique voice and something to bring to the legislature. Once I had my children, my why shifted a little bit again. And every year, the issues in our district have changed, but my commitment has not. And I think that's what's truly important, is making sure that day in and day out, that we continue to work for our community. I think I have a track record of working bipartisanly to get things done. I think that's one of my greatest strengths, making sure that I listen to everybody in our community, no matter what their feelings are, their background, their opinions. And that's truly how we create positive legislation for our entire community. And again, it has been my honor and privilege to serve you in the legislature, and I ask for your continued support. Mahalo.
Thank you. All right, so that is all the questions for District 38. How about we give them a big hand? Thank you for being here. And we will move on to House District 46. If I can get the candidates to please come up. District 46 is a portion of Waipio Acre, Launani Valley, Wahiawa, Whitmore Village, Waialua, and Mokuleia. Current representative for this district is Amy Peruso. And we have Mark Anthony Clemente, who's also a Democratic candidate, as well as Daniel Michael Gabriel, who is a Republican candidate. Welcome and thank you for being here this evening. Representative Peruso, please make your opening statement.
Aloha. Thank you so much for coming this evening and for being engaged. As a former civics teacher, this warms my heart to see everyone here and to hear the questions and the responses to the questions. I'm running for re-election for many reasons, and first among them is that the work is not over. And actually, as I get engaged in this work and my understanding of the kind of context that we're working in deepens, I understand that we need to do so much more to connect with community and to bring together, community legislators, advocates, to do this kind of problem solving. And I think that I'm particularly committed to addressing the questions of ethics and integrity in public service. I think that what we've seen with the role of money in government is very troubling to me. And I've made a commitment to my former students and to my family and to my community that I will work and do my best to address these issues, to really clean up government in our state. And that's my mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Clemente, your opening statement.
Hello, Mike Ako. Aloha. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mark Anthony Clemente, and I'm a candidate for House District 46. You know, I've been asked to run for office before in the past, but I've always declined. I've spent about 8 years of my career so far at the legislature, working for Representative Lauren Matsumoto, Senator Gil Riviere, the former North Shore Senator, and now I work for Representative Daniel Holt. My call to service came in January 2023 when my son Tyga was born. I'm sorry he was making so much noise earlier. Apologize for that, but he's really my ikigai, my purpose, and the reason why I'm running for office. You know, folks are trying to bring their children back home to Hawaii. I'm trying to keep mine here if he wants to stay here. Now, there are a number of folks who are being priced out of paradise, and that's a fact. Majority of Native Hawaiians are now on the continent. As a Native Hawaiian myself, I find that very troubling. You know, if there are Native Hawaiians out there who want to go and have experiences on the continent, but still be able to come back, great. But my feeling is that they can't afford it. But how about those folks who can't even afford to leave? They're being crushed by the policies that are being implemented here. So I'm running for office to challenge the status quo. We have a quality of life issue here. And I'm running for office to ensure that we have more time to spend with the folks we love, doing the things we love to do, and really increase our quality of life. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gabriel, your next statement.
Hello. Aloha. Thank you for all being here today. Thank you for taking the time to tune in online. For those of you in person, thank you for coming down here. Thank you for the community leaders and members that organized this meeting. I'd like to also thank Dean for letting me know that this was going on today as a little short notice for me. I wasn't able to practice an opening, but I've written something today that just came from my heart, and I'd like to share that with you folks. My name's Daniel Gabriel. I'm the District 46's Republican candidate for the state of House of Representatives. I was born and raised in Oahu. Therefore, I'm accustomed to the family-oriented values, traditions, and stresses that present our community. As a father of a young family, I experienced the same exposure to these stresses that you do in the community. Some of the biggest challenges I see include the rising cost of living, increasing levels of violent and nonviolent crimes, failing infrastructure, poorly administered public works, and the diminishing trust of our constituents in our political system. I will strive to be the catalyst in the process of implementing no-nonsense, logical solutions to the issues facing our community. From new voters to experienced constituents, I look forward to invigorating and involving the community in the political process and its civic duty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Clemente. Tell us what the 3 top issues are for your district.
Thank you. So like I said, we're suffering from a quality of life issue. And my plan to address that is to champion public safety. That's my top priority. Next, bringing jobs closer to home, supporting our small businesses that create jobs for local people. And finally, strengthening education. You know, about 42% of folks who are in Mililani have graduated from college. You go up the road to Wahiwa, that number drops to 24.8. Across the state, 50% of our high school graduates don't go on to college. Now, there are a variety of reasons for that, whether that's cost or, you know, there are other things that our high school graduates are doing. But for me, our high school graduates need better options, right? They need exposure to different trades and vocational training. We need to support our entrepreneurs so that they can be out there starting businesses and creating more jobs for folks. And so those are my top 3 priorities: public safety, bringing jobs closer to home, and strengthening education. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gabriel, same question.
Top 3 challenges I think that we face, again, cost of living, as most people have said. Bottom line is we don't have the skills and enough pay to basically afford property here, being local. That needs to be addressed. There are too many buyers in the market buying up the land that we were born and raised on. We need to have a fair approach to that. Number 2, rising levels of violent crimes and nonviolent crimes. Lots of UAVs, burglaries, assaults. Our community needs to feel safe when they're out doing their things, their chores, their errands. If you can't feel safe, then what do you have? You have no community at all. And our third is our failing infrastructure, whether that be the Department of Education, like our other candidates have said. Our students aren't going on, they aren't becoming what we need in our community. We need to address that. Like you said, vocational, that's a great way to start. what do we really need in the community? Hands-on workers, doctors, lawyers. We need to give our community the opportunity. We need to have the programs there. When I read that pulling your child out of the public school system because you have a specific plan for them, I believe that's a problem. Parental rights should be the top priority of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Russo.
So my district, or our district, House District 46, has been extended from Wahiwa, Waipio Acres, Launani Valley, and Whitmore Village, all the way out now to Kaena Point. So to simplify or condense the issues of our district in any clear, succinct talking points is really difficult. And I think that all of the kind of issues that have emerged in this conversation this evening thus far are important. But I think that we have some deep underlying issues that it's really hard for legislators to address, actually, because we have such short cycles of service. So if we are only serving for 2 years and we're constantly thinking about reelection, we're not really keeping our eye on those long-term problems. And I think that, you know, when I talk to folks, when I'm canvassing, and I've been doing this every single cycle for 6 years, I've had an opponent every single cycle. So I have been canvassing in my district about 11 times. I've had so many deep conversations on the door as a result of that. And I think that as you go past the talking points that our media addresses, you really start to get into people's deeper issues and concerns. And I think people, especially in our community with the Kukani local fire, we saw a lot of anxiety about climate events and climate change. With our homeless in the streets and not having the funding, not providing the funding to really address those root causes of houselessness and homelessness, we are seeing the effects of growing economic inequality. And it's devastating for people. It's traumatic for community to see people suffering and to not be able to take care of them. And I think finally, and most importantly, because it affects our ability to address any of these issues, is the legal corruption that is plaguing our political system. So there's been some investigation into pay to play, and I think that that's our top third, our other issue that we need to
Okay.
address.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, next question is for Mr. Gabriel. Hey, do you pledge to serve the entire term if elected?
I do pledge to serve the entire term. I'm here to win, and I'm here to be the voice of the people in my community.
Thank you. Representative Russo, same question.
If elected, I really appreciated the answers of the other candidates to this question because they all spoke to me. And I think that this question emerges because we've become so reliant on an appointment system. So when there's a vacancy, then our communities are forced to kind of grapple with finding someone to fill that vacancy. And I honestly think that we need to move to a system of special elections so that the people, the entire community can decide in a fair and democratic fashion. So of course, I'm going to finish out the rest of my term. That's my obligation. I mean, that's my commitment. And I've been doing that. I think that this work is really hard. So I don't hold it against people when they step down from office. I think that's sometimes healthy. But I think that people have asked me to run again, and have really supported my campaign. So yes, that is my commitment.
Thank you. Mr. Clemente.
Thank you, Chair. I am absolutely willing to serve my entire term. You know, this is the job I'm applying for, state representative, and I'm committed to serving my community consistently, as well as the community's values and needs. I plan to be a representative that is approachable, that listens, and takes action. Look, the problem with the legislature is not quite the Senate, right? It's the House of Representatives. There's 51 of them. There are 20 new elected officials in the last election cycle. If we get to 26, we can make some real change. And I ask that you make me one of those 6 people so we can really get things done. Model.
Thank you. Next question is for Representative Russo. District 46 now, as you mentioned earlier, is an extremely diverse district. It's also probably one of the most geographically spread out districts for all House districts in the state. Can you explain to us what the pros and cons are regarding having such a diverse district?
For me, it's a bit like coming home. So when I first moved to the islands, I lived on the North Shore and I lived out in Waialua for many years. So it's wonderful to reconnect and re-enter that community. And I think that coming to a better understanding of where, how those changes are affecting, especially our most rural communities. So you know, the problems we experience in Wahiawa are not the same as those out in Waialua. We're seeing a lot of illegal activity on ag land. We have a huge crisis around cesspool conversion and water quality. And, you know, in Wahiawa, it's obviously, you know, an older plantation town, and we struggle with basic infrastructure like sidewalks and upgrading our schools. Wahiawa is not in the same situation as Mililani. So I think that in my district, I have 13 schools, and they really range in terms of their capacities to meet the needs of their students. And I think that's the best example of the diversity of my district, because there are policies that we can put in place that will actually help all of the various communities within the district. And again, I go back to this need to address growing economic inequality, addressing climate change and corruption.
Thank you. Mr. Clemente, same question.
My wife and her family are lifelong residents of Waialua. And so when the redistricting happened, I was happy to get to know the folks out in Wahiawa, you know, joining the Lions Club and the Rotary Club, and really committing to community service. Now, for me, the pros are diversity, of course. You know, Wahiawa, Waialua, they're both plantation towns. My great-grandfather was a cicada on the Big Island, a Filipino laborer on a sugar plantation on the Kohala Coast. And so I celebrate diversity. On the plantation, you have the Filipinos, Japanese, Portuguese, you know, what have you. They all have different problems, but they all banded together. And that's what it is. It's a kako thing. So we all need to work together to solve our common problems and address those problems that are not so common throughout the district.
Thank you. Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you. So when I think of our community and its diverse land mass, it's people, it's cultures. What I see is one word, is potential. We have one of the greatest districts on our island. Our natural resources when it comes to Lake Wilson, very exciting place. It could be immaculate. It could be a lot nicer. We could have good times there, you know, fishing, boating, whatnot. That's just one small precinct, and that's one of the larger precincts when it comes to constituents. That's where I live. I lived there as a child. We've moved out different parts of Central Oahu, but this is where I find myself again, and I've come full circle. And I basically want to devote the next 30 years of my life to that community because that's where I'm raising my family. We have beautiful mountain trails. And just down the road, we have beautiful beaches. It has one, like I said, has the largest potential in all of Oahu. And I would love to represent that and just make it as good as it can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is for Mr. Clemente. Hi. Tell us what makes you the best candidate for this job.
Thank you, Chair. You know, I'm proud of all the candidates here tonight stepping up to serve their community. But the thing that makes me the best candidate for this job is my ability to bring people together. Further, I have a law degree. I graduated from the William S. Richardson School of Law in 2022, where my classmates elected me as class speaker. With my legal training, I will treat the community as more than a client, as ohana, right? Because that's what we need. We need someone to advocate fiercely for us. And with my legal training, I'm trained to look at all sides of an issue and fight accordingly. But the people I will fight for will constantly be this community, our community, because this is a Kako thing. No single legislator can make a big difference here, right? We need 26 legislators to really make a difference, but we also need the community to band together and really communicate that to our legislators. Mahalo.
Thank you. Mr. Gabriel, same question.
I believe I am the best candidate for this position solely on one reason, and that is that I have no connection to the political world. I live here, I work here, I raise my family here. I have one goal in mind, is to preserve this place so that it's here for when my family extends and creates their own family. I may not have been the smartest one in the room where I go, wasn't always the top of my class, but what I am willing to do is to stand up and speak. A lot of people would rather not and just stand back and see what happens, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand up for the people of this community. The issues that they feel are important, we're going to address them, whether I can be the best solution for it or I can at least bring the people together that can provide the best solution to it. That is what I'll do. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Prusso.
So this is a bit of an awkward question because it asks candidates to really kind of talk about themselves and I think boast about their qualities. But I think that I am the best candidate for this seat because I am stubborn, I am tenacious, I'm honest, and I am courageous. I mean, that means that even when it scares me to challenge authority, I will do it because I think that it's best for my community. And I think that that's what we need right now. I think that we have been going along just to get along for far too long. And I think that, you know, it's really difficult to be effective in the legislature, to build relationships and to also be able to, and to chair committees and to hear bills and shepherd bills through. And then also to be willing to take a stand when it's important. And I've done that. I plan to do it again when it matters. And I think that that's what my community is looking for and what they value in me. So that's why I think I'm the best candidate.
Thank you. Those are all the questions for District 46 candidates. Mr. Gabriel, you have a minute and 30 seconds for your closing statement.
Once again, thank you for everyone that's present. Thank you for the community leaders that have organized this and put this all together. Thank you for the IT team to get this out to the bigger audience, because that's who it really belongs to. That's who needs to see this, is the people that will be voting for us and need our voice out there. As a native of Central Oahu, my roots are planted in this soil, and I don't plan on going anywhere. The high cost of living can come at me any which way it likes, and I'm going to find a way to provide for my family and make sure my community members know that I care about them. I don't only focus in the business world. I love growing plants. I'm an avid gardener. I love beekeeping. I'm not just that businessman that is going to say, hey, this is what we need and this is what I'm going to do for you. No, no. I actually want to see this land thrive. I was born and raised here, and it's a part of me. It's in my soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Prusso.
I was really touched by that. And I'm just really grateful for my opponents for running, and their intentions are clear and beautiful and good. And I think that as a former civics teacher, this is really important. It's important for our community, and it's strange to be in Mililani talking about our district because our district is so far away. But I think that, you know, this moment is really important. We're at a nexus where we can choose to get big money out of politics. We can pass policies that really hold politicians accountable, or we can just keep going along as we have been. And I fear that we will really see detrimental impacts to our children. And so I ask you to vote for clean government, clean elections, and clean leadership.
Thank you. Mr. Clemente.
Mahalo again for everyone for being here, those on Zoom, online, Chairs Bass and Hazama for hosting this. You know, as someone who's grown up in Kalihi and someone who's lived in Wailua for the past 10 years, I've seen the evolution of Hawaii, good and bad. For me, I really fell in love with public service, working at the legislature, because I really found a sense of purpose there. As a legislator, my top 3 priorities are public safety, bringing jobs closer to home, strengthening education. And I believe that if we all work together, we can really make this place, we can really build a brighter future for our keiki. And that's really my goal as a father, as a resident, as a local, to really ensure that locals don't just survive here, that we thrive. When was the last time you felt like you were thriving in Hawaii? This is the Aloha State, and together we can work to build that brighter future. And I humbly ask for your support in the upcoming primary election. Mahalo.
Yep. Thank you very much. That concludes the questions for District 46 candidates. Let's give them a big hand. This also concludes our candidates forum. I want to again thank the candidates for coming out here and being with us and helping to get to know them better and answering the questions. I also want to thank all of you for coming out here to meet the candidates, and hopefully they've stuck around so you guys can talk story, have any questions for them as well. At this time, I will turn the meeting back over to Chair Bath.
All right. This, we are now reconvening the meeting, the joint meeting of the Mililani Neighborhood Board and Mililani Mauka Neighborhood Board, number 25 and 35. Mahalo, Chair Hazama. Mahalo, board members of Neighborhood Board 25 and 35 for being here tonight. Thank you for allowing us to do this here tonight. So this is I think that this is a really great opportunity for our community as a whole. Just wanted to go into announcements per our agenda for the next Neighborhood Board 25 meeting for Mililani Waipio Melemanu is scheduled for Wednesday, August 28th, 7:30 p.m. back at Mililani High School. Okay, it's not here. Don't come here. Mililani Neighborhood Board 35's meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, 7 p.m. here at Mililani Mauka Elementary School. Of course, this board meeting will be broadcasted for Neighborhood Board 25 on Olelo Focus Channel 49 every second Thursday from 9 a.m. and Olelo Views Channel 54 every first and third Saturday at 9 a.m. Videotapes are available on YouTube as well. For Neighborhood Board 35, videotapes of board meetings are scheduled to be shown Olelo Channel 49 on the first Saturday of the month at 6 p.m. and second and fourth Saturdays of the month at 1 p.m. and are also available on YouTube. So don't worry if you missed it today. There's ample opportunity on Olelo as well as on YouTube to take a look at this joint Mililani's Neighborhood Board meeting. With that, are there any objections or abstentions to adjourn this meeting? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, members.